In this video, I'll show you how to build $10,000 websites using Claude Code. Not only will I show you how to make a site that looks premium and feels like it's worth $10,000, but one that actually has legitimate use cases, a backend, databases, user accounts, and could actually be sold for that amount of money. Now, I'm making this video because I've seen many people on YouTube promise to help you make $10,000 websites, but they only show you a user interface or a landing page. Now in 2026, landing pages are pretty easy to make, and sure, you can sell them for a few hundred or a few $1,000s, but to get up to $10,000 or more, you need real legitimate functionality. Like I said, accounts, signing in, it needs to solve an actual problem, and that's what I want to attempt to do in this video, so it's different from the 500 other videos that you've seen on the platform. So with that said, let's get into it. Let me run through the setup and let me share with you my idea for something that could actually be worth this amount of money. All right, so let's start by getting our environment set up, a few skills added and Claude Code ready to go. Then I'm going to get into the idea and we'll start going through all of the tools and features that we're going to use. Now, of course, in order to do this, you need Claude Code. Now, Claude Code is a desktop application. You can download this to your computer, and while you can use it in the terminal, for most of us, it's going to be much easier to use it in the graphical user interface. So if you don't already, go to Anthropic's website or Claude, find Claude Code, and download the desktop application for your device. Once you download that, you'll need to sign into your account. It should prompt you to do that. And if you don't already have a subscription, you probably will need the $20 subscription at least in order to get enough usage to actually complete what I'm going to show you. Now, once you sign in, you're going to want to switch over to the code tab here and just press to make a new session. And this is where we're going to start adding a few skills that are going to allow us to do some really sleek web design. Now in Claude, first thing we're going to want to do here is just set this to work in a folder. So you can see I'm already working in a folder that I've created called wedding site. But if you don't have a folder here, you can simply press this, go open folder, go to a location that's convenient like your desktop, and then make a new folder. If you have one that you want to work inside of already, just select it. So I'm going to select this wedding site folder. If you didn't already have one, make a new one and then open that. Okay, so I'm going to go to wedding site. So now all of the changes will apply in here, and immediately I'm going to switch the mode into bypass permission mode so I don't need to keep accepting all of the changes automatically from Claude. Now in terms of the model, assuming it's still available when you watch this video, you should select Fable 5. If that's not there or you don't want to spend $1 million, you can go and select Opus 4.8. Both will be completely fine. For the reasoning level, I suggest that you keep it around high. That's going to give you some good performance. Okay. Now we could just go here and start prompting and telling Claude our idea and have it building something out, but that's not really going to get us a great result and it's not going to get us to a $10,000 website. What we want to do is start setting up Claude by installing some different skills, setting up some tools, integrations, and plugins so everything's in place, and when we do start asking it something, it gets us a really great result. So we're going to start by installing some front-end skills. These are skills that's going to make Claude significantly better at designing websites and user interfaces. Then we can tell Claude our idea, we can generate a detailed plan, we can pick all of the tools that we're going to use, and we can actually build this out. So bear with me because this video will be longer than a lot of the other ones on YouTube because I actually want to show you how to do this. Okay, so the first skill that we want to install in Claude is something called front-end design. I'm going to leave a link to it in the description, and it's super easy to install this skill. All you'll need to do is just copy this link. You can paste it directly into the terminal in Claude Code or into kind of the UI here, and you can just tell it, install the front-end design skill from this URL. Now, a skill is just a markdown file, essentially just like a text file, that explains to Claude how to do something. Once you install the skill, you can invoke it by using a slash command, so slash and then whatever the name of the skill is, and then it's just going to give you a significantly better result. So if you read through this skill, you can see that it just explains different design principles to Claude so that it's not going to create the same website every single time. So we're going to start with that and press enter and make sure it installs the skill. Okay, so we can see the first skill was installed. So now we're going to move to the next one, which is this UI UX Pro skill. Same thing, I'll leave a link to it in the description. And in order to install it, we can just copy the URL. We can just paste this here. And again, we can tell it, please install this skill from the repo above. Okay, and go ahead and press on enter. Now this one is going to give Claude some additional skills that allow it to create really nice user interfaces and user experiences. And by the way, if you're wondering what I'm using to type here, or not to type, but just to speak into the terminal, I'm using a tool called Whisper Flow. Now this is what the user interface looks like. You can see how many words I have. I use it all the time and I'm much faster at speaking into the mic than I am typing. And I pretty much use this exclusively for any AI tool or coding that I'm doing. So if you guys want to check it out and you want to be faster by just speaking into the computer, I'll leave a link to it in the description. I do have a long-term partnership with them. Okay, so we can see that the UX skill and the UI skill is installed, and now what we'll need to do is just restart Claude Code, make a new session, and we should have access to them. All right, so I've made a new session and restarted Claude Code. I made sure that I'm in my same folder and I have the same settings. And now if I type / you can see I have this UI UX Pro Max, I have this front-end design skill, and I can start invoking those to actually design my website. But before I do that, I need to make a plan and know what I'm actually building. Now, my idea for this video is to create a wedding photography delivery website. Now, I know that sounds eerily specific, but let me get into why I think this could be worth $10,000. Now, the idea is that I would sell this to something like a wedding venue, and they could include this in part of their package, where what they do is they create a customized website for any wedding couple, and that website looks really nice. They can use it to invite people to their wedding, to RSVP, and then anyone who signs up through that website or who's invited can actually view all of the images, videos, or content itinerary around that wedding afterwards. So the idea is that rather than sending a Google Drive link to all of your guests with the photos and the images, they can just go to the same site that they got invited from. They can view it in high quality. It will look really nice. You can highlight different images. And from the wedding venue's perspective, they could use this multiple times and customize it for different wedding couples. The infrastructure stays the exact same. So I would sell it to them. They would include it in their package. And I think it would be really easy to sell this for $10,000 or more because it allows them to charge more. They can include it in their photo, video package, whatever, and it feels really premium and just makes them stand out. So that's kind of what I'm talking about with the $10,000 website. More than just a landing page, I want to build them some functionality so they can handle high resolution videos and images and delivery and accounts, and that's where you start generating a lot of the value. So with that in mind, what I want to do now is start creating a plan for this site. I want to think through what it should look like visually. I want to think about the features I need to have, and I want to work with Claude to document all of this so we can work on it over, a few hours, because it might take a bit of time, without forgetting any of the stuff that I originally came up with. And when I build this plan, I also want to instruct Claude what tools it should be using. Now, if you don't know what tools to use, you can ask Claude for assistance, but I am a software developer, and the point of this video is to help you build these sites, so I'm going to recommend some tools to you right now that you can use to build a site like this, and that I'll be showing you all the way through this video. So the first tool that I'm going to use here is something called ImageKit. Now, full disclosure, they've been a long-term sponsor of my channel, but they're fantastic when it comes to doing things with images and videos, especially when you want to deliver high-resolution, extremely fast, optimized assets. So especially with a site like this, where pretty much all of the value is in delivering that content to the user, it needs to load fast, it needs to be clean, it needs to be able to be transformed or cropped or trimmed or have thumbnails, and ImageKit can handle all of that complex logic for us, so we're going to use that as one of our tools. Now, the other tool that we're going to use is Supabase. Now, Supabase is going to handle the backend for us. They're also a long-term sponsor of my channel. I have all of the best sponsors here. But anyways, they're free to use. Both of these are free. You don't need to pay. You can get free credits and stuff for what you need to do. And the idea is that this can handle our authentication. It can handle any backend functions. It can do the database for us. And we can hook it up directly to Claude Code so that we don't need to manually handle any of this ourselves. Now, we're also going to use something called Higgsfield. Higgsfield will allow us to generate really high quality AI assets, so videos, images, etc. Of course, if you already have stuff you want to use, you can just plug them in. But I'm going to show you how we can connect Higgsfield directly to Claude so we can create things like this, right? Where it's like full AI assets for the wedding, because of course I'm not actually getting married, so I don't have photos, so we can just generate them all with Higgsfield. And to save time, I've done a bunch already, but I'll show you how it works. There's a few other tools that we'll end up using here. For example, we'll use Next.js to actually build out the application, but these are things that we'll make clear when we're instructing Claude, and that I'll get into more later when we actually start setting them up. Okay, so with that said, let's start generating our plan. So in order to generate our plan, I'm just going to go to Claude here, and I'm just going to kind of brain dump what I'm thinking for this site. And then importantly, I'm going to ask Claude to ask me any clarifying questions so that it can help me build this out. It's important that you tell it, hey, I'd like to build a plan. Ask me any clarifying questions, then you go and explain what it is that you want to build. I'm not going to bore you with the prompt. I'm just going to speak all of it into here, and then we'll generate that now. Okay, so you can see that I've given this a really long prompt, and the important thing is that I've explained to it what the site is for, why I'm building it, and generally kind of some of the features or decisions that I've made. So I told it, hey, I want to use ImageKit for all the images and videos because I know that's going to be really good. I want to use Supabase for the backend because I know that's going to handle all of this stuff for me. So the more decisions we make up front, the better. And you also notice that I said I would like you to ask me any clarifying questions and make sure we go through everything and make key decisions before we start building. So we're going to run this and see what we get. Okay, so it asked me a few clarifying questions. I've answered them here. We're going to start generating the plan. We'll then review it and build this out. So while this plan is generated, there are a few accounts that we're going to have to make in order to get this working. So the first account is going to be on ImageKit. I'll leave a link to it in the description. Let me just go to the main page here. And what we can do is just press start for free. Again, you'll get some free credits. It will limit the amount of stuff that you can upload, but you can always upgrade it later. So the link's down below. Just create a free account here, and then you can go to your ImageKit dashboard. You'll see that I'm already signed into my account. After that, we're going to need to make a Supabase account. So same thing, this is free to use. You can sign up with GitHub or whatever, make a new account, and then just go to your Supabase dashboard. From here, we're going to make a new organization. So I'll just call mine Wedding Demo or something. We'll keep it personal. And for now, I'm going to go with free because I don't need any of the other features. But of course, you can upgrade it later if you actually want to deploy this. Then once we make the organization, we'll make a project. You can see it's limiting me right now because I've already got 2 free projects. I'll just remove one and then recreate one here. Okay, so I just made my free project here, and we'll just leave this open for now. And then last one is going to be Higgsfield. If you do want to generate any assets, same thing, you can get some free credits, then you can pay to upgrade. So just make an account on here. Okay, now if we jump back into Claude, we can see that it's generated a plan for us. So of course we should review the plan, make sure that it makes sense, and then proceed from there. Now I'm just going to assume that this is good because again, it's kind of more for video demo purposes, and we'll start building this out. However, we want to connect it up to the different accounts that we've created. So let's go with that now. So we'll start with ImageKit here. Now, in order to connect it to our ImageKit project and make sure that it has those values, ImageKit actually has MCP servers as well as agent skills that you can install directly in Claude Code. So we'll understand how to use this tool. Now, what I'm going to do, because I'm super lazy and you guys probably should be as well, is I'm literally just going to copy this page here that explains how to build with AI. So you can connect AI coding agents right to ImageKit. And I'm just going to paste it here into Claude Code and say, can you read this page and then just perform whatever steps are required to connect ImageKit here, and then let me know what you need in terms of the credentials from ImageKit. Okay, so this is just going to set it up for us and should automatically install the different skills. And then from our ImageKit dashboard, because I've been here before, I know that we're going to need to go to the developer options, and we're going to be looking for this public key and this private key, which we'll use in a minute. And we're going to need to share with Claude, or at least create in a file so that it can access this dashboard. Now, we'll also show you how to connect this in terms of the different frameworks if you want to do that. However, most of us are not going to manually do that. And then if we go to the media library here, we'll be able to have all of our different assets handled. You can see I already have a bunch because I use this for many different things. Okay, so let's wait for this to finish and then I'll be right back. Okay, so this step is done. It's sharing that we're going to need these 3 values right here. So even though this is not the best practice to do this, but I know you guys are going to do it anyways, what I'm going to do is just copy in these values directly to Claude and just tell it what they are and have it add it in the file as it needs. Now, generally, you should put it in its own env file directly, but I know many of us are not developers and are not going to know how to do that. So if you really need to, you can just copy them right in here. So what I mean by that is from ImageKit, I'm going to go back to that developer options page. I'm going to copy the public key, the private key, and then the ImageKit ID and URL endpoint and share it here. So I'm just going to paste the values and I'm not going to leak them to you, and Claude will know what they are. Okay, so we've done that step and Claude has saved those keys, and now we're going to connect to Supabase. Now from Supabase, if we go to our project, we can press on connect. From here, what we can do is just go to MCP. We can just choose that we want to connect with Claude Code. And then what we can do is simply just copy the prompt right here that gives everything we need, and it will automatically connect it for us. All right, so I've just pasted the commands in here and ran it, and you can see that it's giving us all the info we need to connect to Supabase. In 1 second, I'll show you how we can authenticate this because it does require another step, and then we'll be good to go. Okay, so this is set up now, and the next step is going to be to install the Higgsfield MCP server. But in order to do that, we are going to have to use the CLI-based version of Claude. Now, if you're not aware, Claude has 2 versions. They have the desktop app, which is the one that we're seeing right here, and they have a CLI tool. Now, the CLI tool you can install if you go to Anthropic's, Claude Code GitHub repo. You can see all of the commands right here. It should be installed already, but if it's not, you can install it. And then this is going to allow you to have a little bit more control of things from the terminal. So I just set it up mostly in this UI so it didn't intimidate you guys, but we have most of the setup done. For the rest of the video, though, we will need to move to the CLI so that we can have full control and we can use all of the skills and MCP servers that we've installed. So if you don't already, install this, and I'm going to show you how to open it up. Okay, so once you've got this installed, what we're going to do is open up a terminal or a command prompt. From here, we're going to change directories into the directory where our application is. So I'm going to go desktop and then wedding site. Now, if you don't know what this is or how to change into the correct directory, don't worry, I will show you how to get Claude to do it for you in just 1 second. So I'm going to cd, and then I'm going to run Claude. Now, if it's your first time, you will need to authenticate with Claude. So it will ask you to sign in. And anyways, it should then prompt you to trust the folder. And you can see that it's asking me if I want to use this MCP server. And I'm going to go ahead and press on yes. Okay, now I will show you how to authenticate this in a second. However, what we need to do, if you don't know how to get into the folder that we were working in before, is you can simply ask Claude. So you can say, hey, I'm watching a tutorial and they said I need to run Claude inside of the folder that I created for the wedding site that I'm building, or whatever app that you're building. How do I change into that directory? Just ask it, and then it will tell you the command. You can run it, and then you can run Claude, and you can just ask it, and it will go through that, right? So let me just clear this now, and we're going to move on to authenticate the MCP server. So inside of Claude, what we're going to do is type /MCP. From here, we should see that we have some MCP servers that say need authentication. So we'll see Supabase and ImageKit. So I'm going to start with Supabase, and I'm going to authenticate. Now, when it asks me to authenticate, I'm just going to open up this browser URL here, and I'm going to authorize. Okay, this is going to connect to my Supabase project. So you can see that it's connected. Now, the next one we're going to do is ImageKit. So same thing, we're going to type /MCP. We're going to go ImageKit, and we're going to go authenticate. Again, it will open up a browser window, and we're going to authenticate. Now, from ImageKit, in order to do this, we need to give it our private key. So we can find that by just copying it from the ImageKit dashboard and then pasting it here and approving. Okay, so same thing, we can see that that one worked. Now next, as I mentioned, we're going to need Higgs field. So what I'm going to do is just copy the Higgs field MCP link. I'm going to paste it here and say, look at this URL and tell me how I can connect the Higgs field MCP. And then it should just automatically do it for me. And then once it's connected, I can ask it to generate images, videos, etc. for me, and it will do that. So it says, hey, it wants to view this. I'm going to go yes, and don't ask again. And to change this mode, I can hit Shift Tab on my keyboard, and now I'm in Accept Edits. So it should just automatically accept everything for me without me needing to do anything. Now it's telling me Higgs field is already connected because I set it up before. However, if it wasn't connected, you could just type /MCP once it did it for you, find Higgs field, you could then authenticate or reconnect to it, and you are good to go. So now we have everything that we need to actually start building this out. We have the plan, we're in the correct directory, and we want to start building. So the first thing we'll do is we'll invoke this front-end design skill. So we're going to do /front-end design because we've installed that. And I'm going to say, help me come up with a design system with different clean color palettes, themes, and typography. Create a quick demo website for me so I can see what it looks like based on the plan that we have. So I want to start by generating a coherent design system. Once I have the design system, then I can build out the rest of the site. A design system is effectively like a theme, right? Or color palettes, or kind of, a template, or I don't know how to describe this, like things that you're going to follow throughout the entire site. So I'm going to use the front-end design skill to help me do that. And then once the front-end design skill builds that for me, I can use the UI and UX skill that I added before, to help me build out the initial landing page. What I want to do is start with the front end so we make the site look really good and have it clean. And then what I want to do after that is I want to move to the back end where we build the functionality. So I'm just going to allow it to read all of the stuff here, and we'll keep going, and maybe I can switch this. Yeah, auto mode. That's the mode that I want, not accept edits. So we'll do all of this for me. Now also, again, I'm going to show you that in this directory, let me open it up here. I have a bunch of photos that I already created that we're going to use for the site. So you can see we have like an example, Sarah and Tom. Right, we have some films, some videos that we can show. Now, I generated these using Higgs field. And the way I generated them is I just asked Claude to make them for me. So I said, hey, I'm building a wedding site. I want all of these nice assets that I can display on there. Can you make images and videos for me? And because I'm connected to the Higgs field MCP, it did that for me automatically and put them in this directory. So for you guys, based on what site you're making, if you need any AI images, assets, videos, graphics, whatever, you can just ask it to generate those for you, or it should be able to do that automatically because it's connected to Higgs field. Usually it will require your consent because it's going to cost you credits, but just keep in mind that if it starts using some images, it's because I have them in the folder already. And again, all of these were generated with AI in just one prompt from Higgs field. It took a few minutes, but it generated them for me. All right, so it's built the design system for me, or at least it's set that it built the design system for me. However, I can't view it yet. So what I'm going to do is just tell Claude, can you run this in the browser for me and just give me a URL where I can view this? Just so that I can see it, because if you don't know how to see it, obviously that's not very helpful. And because we're working in the CLI now, it's a little bit more complex. Sometimes we need to kind of tell Claude to do something for us. So you see it's running a shell right now. You don't have to really worry what that means if you're not technical. But effectively, it should just run this in the browser for us and then let us view it. Okay, so it says I can just go to this URL right here. So if I press Control and then just click on it, you can see it opens up kind of a sample website. And here's an example of what one looks like. And it's put a bunch of our images. It has all of this. And to me, this looks super cool. And then I can change to a different color scheme. And you can see that we kind of get a filter. We get different images. So I'm just going to find one that I like and then just tell it that I want to go with that for the site. Now, keep in mind that because we're kind of building multiple sites, or could be building multiple sites for different couples, you could use different color themes. So what we could do actually is just have it so that these are kind of like default templates that we could use for different sites. So in fact, let's instruct it to do that and then just give us one full built out site just for Sarah and Tom for right now. And then kind of we can proceed from there. So hopefully that makes sense, but it's built a few different ones and we could use all of these depending on who's getting married. Okay, so I'm gonna go, I actually like all of these. Let's keep them all and let's use these as templates for the different individual sites that we could create. For the rest of the video, let's just go with one kind of fully built out site for demo purposes. And I wanna go with that last color theme that's a little bit darker for that particular site. Okay, and then go ahead and we'll press on enter and that should proceed from there. All right, so this is the full built out. It just created this version of the site here and opened it up for us. You can see that we can kind of navigate through the site. We have gallery, RSVP, and of course the backend stuff isn't finished yet, but you get the idea. And of course, this is working pretty well. So now what we want to do is move to actually make sure all of the image assets are going to be handled by ImageKit rather than just being kind of used directly from here, because I need them to be able to be rendered and displayed to other people, not just available on my local computer. So we'll kind of build that part in and then we'll start building out the entire application using Next.js. So for now, what I'm going to say is, okay, this looks great. I want to go with this theme. What I would like you to do now is start building out the entire application, including the Next.js and Supabase backend. And then I want you to upload all of the images that we have here to ImageKit and start serving them for the site through ImageKit. And then same thing when we're building the backend features, all of the image uploads and whatnot, we're going to do through ImageKit as well. So they can just be displayed, rendered. You get the idea. Let's go. Okay, so just kind of rambling my prompt into here, and now we're going to start building this out. Again, what I've started with is building the design system, getting the theme down, understanding what I want the site to look like, having that kind of, locked in, and then I start building it incrementally by building the full backend system now. Of course, there's going to be more prompts, there's going to be revisions, there's going to be issues, but we've spent a lot of time up front making the decisions, setting up the MCPs, getting the design system in place, and now we're really ready to proceed and build out the full thing, so it should be a lot less painful and there should be a lot less mistakes. That's how you really do this properly and why this video is so long, because I want to show you the legitimate setup. And at any point, if we aren't happy, we can also start invoking our UI styling skill, our UI Pro Max skill, and this is going to tell it to apply different skills, right? Make it look better, and we'll do that afterwards if we want to ramp up the website. It should use those skills automatically, by the way, in the background, but if it doesn't, you can manually invoke them by just writing the command like that. Okay. So let's wait for this to finish and I'll be right back. Okay, so this is in the process of running here and I just wanted to quickly show you a few things that have gone on. It's still running, so it's gonna take a few minutes here. But first, if we look at Supabase, we can see that a bunch of requests have been sent. It's actually using things like it's set up the database, for example. We can view the schema that it has. Notice that it's relatively complex. We can view the authentication setup. I believe it's doing, like user emails and stuff. It will do that automatically. Storage, edge functions, real-time, all of this stuff you can use from here. You don't need to view it from the portal, but you can obviously if you want to, but because it's directly connected to Claude, it can control that. Now, same thing in ImageKit. We can see that it's actually created a folder here called weddings. You can see it has Sarah's and Thomas wedding here, and it's uploaded all of the files automatically for us. So now it can start optimizing them and delivering them. The interesting thing with ImageKit is that you can apply transformations directly in the URL. So you'll see in a second here that when we actually start loading these, if we want to, for example, load it in a different size, if we want it to be compressed, if we want to have a certain quality, if we want a watermark on it, whatever, there's all these transformations you can apply. You can directly have them applied in the URL that loads this image. Again, I'll show you what I mean in a minute, but for now they're all hosted directly on the site, so that way they can be delivered using the content delivery network from ImageKit. There's a bunch of other stuff you can check out in here, but the URL transformations is the coolest part, which you will see in a second, but again, Claude will handle directly for us. Now, it's also worth noting that this will do the videos for us as well, which is arguably the more important part. It will actually allow us to stream them in certain formats, which will be significantly faster using things like adaptive bitrate streaming. This will mean that we can load the video almost instantly without having to wait. And the way adaptive bitrate streaming works is that it will load it in whatever the current highest resolution is that it has available, and then upgrade the resolution as you go. So just like something like YouTube would do, where it will start loading the video even if it's in low res, and then as soon as it catches up, it will load it in high res, so you're never waiting on it to load. And that's where you'll see all the videos here in the film folder. Okay, so let's give it a second here to wrap up, maybe more than a second, it's already been 20 minutes, and hopefully we'll have a pretty decent version of the site to show. Okay, so it's been about 30 minutes. Looks like it built the entire app on localhost port 3000. So let's open this up and see what we got. And it says private wedding sites made to be remembered. Okay, so we can view different sites. This is the idea. We can build multiple sites on here. So let's view Sarah's and Thomas's. Looks pretty nice. Same theme that we had before. Okay, very cool. We can see the images. Also notice if I view these images, so let's go inspect. These images are actually loaded using this image kit URL. So you can see it's instantly loaded for us, and that I'm not, like loading them from my actual local computer. Same thing with the video here. You can see it as a thumbnail. We can play it, and then we get all the assets here popping up that we can click into. Same thing with the RSVP. I'm not exactly sure how that works right now, but we get the idea. Now, I also think that it built an admin page. Let's see if that's going to load up, and you can see that we can sign in with an email. I think I'm going to need to verify this email, so let me talk with Claude about how this works, and then we'll continue the demo. Okay, so I was able to sign into the admin dashboard here. I can now manage the wedding if I press on the manage page. We can see that I can actually make different invites, and I can just send these invites directly to people, and then they can RSVP so that they're able to sign in, create their account, and then eventually view the site or the gallery. So then I can go to the gallery site here. So let's have a look at this, and you can see that it shows us all of the different images, and then we can click on it, view it and download it. And all of this, again, if we go in the inspect, is through the image kit URLs, where it's automatically creating different sizes for us, rendering them very quickly. You get the idea. Now let's also test one of the invites. So I'm just going to copy it here and paste it and make sure that this is going to load. Okay, so you can see that it would send them, and we can accept or decline. So I'm going to go send our reply. I'm going to joyfully accept. And then if I go back to the site here, let's refresh, and it should show that they're attending. Yes, perfect. So it's attending. And then what we can do, it actually has the upload right here, is we can add different images. So we can add the engagement, we can add the wedding day images, and we can publish this. Okay, so that's the button that we were looking for. So now it's published. And if I go back to the gallery, let's give this a second here. And if we scroll down, we can see everything popping up. I can view the original images, although they do take a second to load. So we can look at why that's being slow in a second. And same with the videos. Let's look at this one, for example. Okay, nice. So I should be able to play this. Okay, so it looks like the videos are loading a little bit slow, so it's probably not using the correct features. So I'm going to, tell Claude to fix that, but now it did load, and let's see what we get. Okay, and we can view that directly in the browser. And then the last thing, let's make sure it works if we try to upload something. So let's upload this, for example. Okay, so we just uploaded a thumbnail here. It looks like it loaded. And then if we go back to the gallery here, we're gonna see a random image that's out of place in a second once it loads. And there we go. We can see we have my AI company one popping up here. And now because all of this is cached, it's loading much faster. Cool, so let's handle the adaptive bitrate streaming, and then we should be pretty much good to go. So I'm just gonna tell Claude the following. Everything's working, however, the videos are loading a little bit slow. We wanna make sure we're using adaptive bitrate streaming in ImageKit. And also for all of the images, I would like to add a text overlay that shows the name of the wedding, just so that it's kind of watermarked. Okay, so this is another feature you can use where you can add kind of these watermarks on top of them. And that way, if someone downloads the image or they want to view them, you can, have the watermark and they know that it came from this event, this wedding, whatever. Anyways, let's wait for this to finish and see what we get. Okay, so just added the adaptive bitrate streaming. So you can see now it pretty much instantly loads the video, which is what I was looking for. Same one here. And then as we go through, we can, just play back. And then same thing with the images, is doing the overlay right now. So we'll wait for that to complete, but at least the adaptive bitrate streaming is working. Okay, so it just finished here. You notice that we now have the watermark. So all of the images load with, Sarah and Thomas in the bottom right-hand corner, as I instructed it to do. Okay. So I think with that said, guys, that's going to wrap up this video. This ended up being a lot longer than I thought it was going to be, but the point is I wanted to show you how to build something functional. So what did we do? We came up with a plan. We added the front-end design skill. We came up with a design system. We added Supabase. We added ImageKit. We added Higgsfield. We set up all the skills. We set up all the processes. We connected to a backend. We have emails going out. We have images loading. We have videos. We have a full admin portal. We have something that's expandable that could actually be used. And of course, it's not fully done at this point, but with a lot of other additions, we could legitimately sell this for thousands, if not even $10,000 plus. This is how you get to a point where you actually create something that has real value. And that's why I was showing you setting all of it up here inside of Claude. So that's it, guys. If you enjoyed, make sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and I will see you in the next one.